Alright. Swiftly following up my previous video, as in I sat in the living room and watched the other engine run for around 5 minutes, and now I'm here making this one. So, this video is about why I believe this eachine, however you choose to pronounce it, or microcosm, M90, I don't remember that brand much, but why this is the best project engine you can buy. Now, if you're a nerd and you swiftly give up after getting this engine, choosing to say, "Oh, it's not a good engine. It's so hard to get to control right." If you're one of those people, shame on you. Have a little more perseverance. Frankly, I'm disappointed. If me, of all people, can manage to get this thing running at least half decent, then you can too. Now, you may have noticed that throughout the whole intro, I was doing a double intake stroke. That's a problem I'm still trying to solve. I honestly don't care too much, though. It runs super nice and slow. If I do have any idea as to what it is, I would guess it's the super long intake tube. I'm guessing that because the air has to travel all the way through it, and since this thing is so far out it can't heat up at all, no fuel is allowed to properly vaporize, atomize, whatever you want to say, aerosolize, since it goes through this cold tube. By the time it gets to the engine, it's not vaporized enough to fire sufficiently. It's either that, or since it's just so far out, it's sucking up probably around 1.5 cc's of just plain air. So I imagine it fires a second time, needs to go around a second time before it fires, because it needs to go all the way, it needs to get first filled up with fully aerosolized air, let that half mixture out, and then, since this thing's full of properly atomized fuel, on the second stroke it's pulling in proper fuel and then firing. It could also be that because I have this engine running more slowly, it could just not have enough velocity to atomize regardless. That's my guess. Anyways, other things about this engine. People say it runs too unpredictably. I say you haven't tried. I just started it. It's going to be a little fussy. Give it a minute. Alright. Oh, I turned it off like a freaking idiot. Alright, here we go. There we go. I don't know about you, but that seems pretty predictable to me. Now I will go over some potential issues you may have with this engine. First, it runs too fast. There are numerous ways to fix that. First and easiest, tighten this bolt down just a little more. It does not actually go towards holding the head down. All it does is keep this arm in place. But when you first get this engine, see how it has some side-to-side play? Probably not, because I've done my job as a proper engine owner. See how it has some side-to-side play? It's way worse when you first get it. Snugging this screw down a little puts a lot of effort towards reducing that. See, it's directly on this arm. If it were actually holding down the engine, it would be really clever if they had a collared sleeve to go down through this shaft and then into the threads, so that this was properly placed, but whatever. Snugging it down a little means that this arm doesn't need to push out nearly as far, because this thing moves out of the way. So yeah, if you just snug this down, this is less unpredictable, allows for this governor assembly to do its job much more effectively. Now, on to some of the other stuff. Valve timing can be a bit of a toughie for this one. It's a hell of a lot easier than the et1 though. With some patience, you'll get it just right, especially because it's a slotted screw. If you fuck it up, chances are you took the flywheel assembly off without marking it, and you get to wear the cone hat for that. And then there is this. This is ignition timing. This is your Hall effect sensor. I don't necessarily see a way of rigging it up so that the ignition only goes off when it fires on this one, like you can with the et1, by just making the contact switch, rather putting a contact switch in between the exhaust push rod so that when it goes fully down, it just clicks together. I haven't done that, probably won't. I don't run these engines often enough to necessarily justify it. I only really use them on days like this where I'm not feeling so great, or I don't have any grass to cut, or all my vacuum cleaners are in working condition, or I've already cleaned up all my lawnmowers, or whatever. I'll usually just mess with one of these guys. Yeah, be careful when disassembling these though. The most complicated thing you can put yourself through with one of these engines is disassembling this governor assembly. This spring resides in here. The only screws you need to undo to get to it are, or rather screws, I think there's just pins. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. Yeah, these are just pins that are clipped in. By removing those, you can take the balls and slide them way up. No, you don't even need to do that. You seriously just unscrew these two screws right here, and then you unscrew the whole assembly, making sure that the eyelets that these balls connect to aren't aligned into those screw holes. So once you disalign those by squeezing them together or pushing them apart, you can unscrew it. Then there's another little thingy in there that you gotta unscrew that holds and retains the spring. You can chop the spring down or replace it with a different spring. The thing I did though was there was this decrepit old stapler that was already broken at my school, and I just also secretively took the entire spring out of it, and no one missed it. So I don't know. So I just cut it down. That's what I used for the et1. I think I might have stretched it and then used it in this. What you can also use is a lighter flinch spring cut down. You can also use a pen spring cut down. I'm pretty sure that's what I did for this one. Mechanical pencil springs are far too strong. I don't recommend them. But yeah, if you can find a nice soft pen spring to use for that, cut it down. Use your intuition. Don't make it too loose or your engine won't run for crap. But I've got it all right. I also horribly installed this little smokestack. I seriously just shoved a Phillips head screwdriver in there to widen the hole and hammered it in there. To say I just wanted to see what would happen would be an understatement. But my reason for this whole mess is when I went and glued these two flywheels together with JB Weld, I didn't do a very good job. Only recently did I think that maybe if I took this metal ring off of this flywheel and if I took this blue ring out and pushed the silver ring all the way through and then glued it together, it would have lined up perfectly. But I didn't think of that, so it's out of balance. So I have it penny taped in here in this rubber band just to be safe. So, yeah. There you go. I honestly don't think the flywheels are helping much, but it looks neat, so I'm keeping them on. So what if it destroys the bearings? It's not your goddamn problem. That's for me to deal with. So I want to hear nothing from you in the comments about it. Alright? Stupid commenter from the last video, I still spite you. I still I'm still salty about that. If I can adjust it really rich, maybe? It'll stop. Well, there we go. I just had to adjust it super rich. And it runs a little worse now, but hey, it's not doing the double intake as much. Alright, there's your video on the et6.